All right, and we're back for another episode of Study Rotation. How's it going, Queso?
Keeping it steady, trying to, switch up the work experience, switching up locations, haunted laptops right now. But, all in all, life is good. How about you, man?
Just chilling, man. Just doing God's work and everything on for this week. Ready for that Isaiah Rashad concert tomorrow. Ready for that new live experience with songs off of his best album yet. I mean, his newest album, I should
Hey,
say.
man. Hey, mister. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say.
I'm excited. I'm excited. But all right.
Also, I'm decking Captain Kirk. You've been warned.
But all right. So we're just gonna get into it. Baby Keem's newest full-length project, the Melodic Blue, just dropped. Coming off of "Die for My Bitch" and "Sound of Bad Habit." Um, for some reason in my mind, it's coming to me as his first full-length project. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of that mixtape energy we got from the first two projects. I think that's what's kind of like fucking with my head a little bit. But yeah, just off the rip, man. What are your first impressions of the album?
Honestly, assuming this is like a PG Lang offering or whatever you want to call it, because that's kind of how I personally view it. I gotta say, the album sounds extremely polished. It has memorable moments. Keem busting out some different flows, doing his best Cardi impression on some tracks, and honestly, very melodic and very 808 inspired. And honestly, I can say it's a very polished album that I can definitely see will put Keem. I don't want to say like in that superstar realm, but definitely in that realm of an artist that people will like kind of pay attention to, for that sort of hype for because he kind of blends that hype youthful energy but with a certain level of introspection if you sometimes pay attention to some of his lyrics.
Uh,
I actually kind of remember on like Range Rover how towards the end he's like talking about like why is your dude looking for me, is he Jesus? And I was kind of like I gotta say like that was just kind of funny to me because you wouldn't necessarily expect such I won't call it introspective but like it's an interesting flip on what could have been a very typical bar of like I'm the shit or something like that for
yeah,
expressing some of his disposition.
kind of like
But
tongue in cheek.
hmm?
Kind of like tongue in cheek.
Yeah. Very, very tongue in cheek. Like you kind of chuckle at it, but you can relate to it just a little bit. Like I definitely feel like it's human music, whatever you want to,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is.
I mean, I don't know if we listened to two different albums. I thought this album was not that polished at all.
Oh,
There were a lot of, to me, the production was hit or miss. I think there were a lot of tracks on here that I, even off the first listen, I was like, I, I, I couldn't decide if I wanted to like throw my laptop across the room or get on Twitter and start praising Baby Keem a little bit because it felt like every other song I was like, okay, this is definitely hitting. And then it, like, even like to me, like Trademark USA was like a great way to start off the project. And it had me like a little bit like concerned with how many beat switches there were, but like they all kind of hit their mark, in my opinion.
mm-hmm.
And then it just goes into Pink Panties, and I was like ripping my headphones out of my ear, and I was like, skip, I'm gonna come back to this. I thought he started off so well on Trademark USA, but it gets into that chorus, and I'm like, what is? I was like, this is not happening. Like, he's saying pussy ass, you ain't know that shit. Back off the club with a fat ass. But I mean, it's funny. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's some humor in that hook.
Mitchie.
But it's just like the voice inflections and even I don't know about the bass in that song. And a lot of songs, like to me, like the bass was just like so like cookie cutter. Like it was just like not like what I was expecting from coming out of like PG Lang's like I would you would consider this like their first full length project, right?
I'd agree. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
agree.
and for such a coveted, you know, artist, and having the hype around him too, his connection with Kendrick, like I thought they were probably gonna pull out like all stops. They were gonna have like Ali involved. I'm sure they did, but anyway, So then it goes into Range Brothers, or it goes into
Okay,
it goes into Scapegoats, which I like Scapegoats. That's the that was the Instagram snippet, and I was like excited, and he's just going bar for bar for bar on that, and that's fine. And then Range Brothers, it's like that song just made me laugh. Like there were a couple. This is the whole thing about the album for me. I'm either hating it, loving it, laughing, thinking to myself like, "Oh shit, that's actually pretty deep." And and of course, like you hear that 808 influence 100%. Like, I mean, like to say like that he didn't have like Love Lockdown in mind when he was like Love Lockdown or Coldest Winter. It's like that. It's like that percussion that was used throughout that album transferred onto this album. I was like, I can definitely hear the resemblance and the influence. Um, but some of the some of the beats on this album is just like it's very distracting to me. To the point where I want to call it ass. I'm really trying hard to remove that out of my vocabulary when I'm like critiquing art and bodies of work.
This is not Twitter, bro. This is the real world.
Yeah. So like beats like that were featured on Pink Panties, I think that's growing on me a little bit. I think the hook definitely helps. But the beat that's featured on Coco, I think Don Toliver serves that beat a lot better than Baby Keem does.
Agreed.
But to me, just throw that beat away in the garbage at least, or like I don't know, uh, update your Logic or switch to Ableton, and I don't know, Fruity Loops is not cutting it, GarageBand is not cutting it for that beat. Um, yeah, it's hard to like pinpoint like a solid like aggregate score for this album. To me, like I could say like it could range from like a 5 to a 7, but to me that's not like an average score for the whole album. I think the album hits a lot of peaks, and then it also misses a lot for me. Um, and I know I kind of like went off on the Family Ties single and our steady rotation short. Check that out to hear my full opinion on that song. And I'm not saying like Baby Keem didn't live up to his expectations. I think he did, and I think this is just him getting started. To be honest, um, to me this project is like a good starting point, and there are a lot of good ideas on here. I just wish like maybe they fleshed it out a little bit more. Um, maybe try to, and that's not even going into his like lyricism for the album, because I actually think I don't know if progressed is the right word, but he stayed in his lane. I don't think he kind of like regressed in any aspect, and I think he actually. I mean, Kendrick wasn't really on top of his like lyrical abilities this album, but like I could say like he kind of went bar for Kendrick. Maybe Kendrick stole the show a little bit because of his like ridiculousness.
Okay, there, brother.
Brother, top of the morning. Have you ever been punched in the fucking face? Um, yeah, I don't know. It's such a confusing album to me. Like, I can't even say that I hate it or that I like it. Um, I can appreciate it though. There's a lot of artistic like, uh, he's like going out on a limb, which I can appreciate actually. That I'll give him credit for.
Hey, man. I mean, yeah, I think you would agree, right? This album definitely doesn't feel like rinse and repeat or,
No.
like came out of some kind of machine. Obviously, it feels, from the times, like modern to the times, but I do feel like he, like I said, put his artistic spin on it. Definitely catch some of the Cardi flows on there or Cardi impressions, but still in a very interesting way. Frankly speaking, despite me actually being able to call this a great album, my personal enjoyment is, I'm not playing this album again unless I'm like with the homies in the whip or if it like shows up on a playlist. I don't think I'll ever turn it off, but it's just not something I'll play.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of goes back to the whole 808s vibe, or it's very mellow, melodic, which I think Keem actually does rather really well. But again, that's not the music that I personally gravitate to, and especially not the music that I go to for Keem. Because my introduction of
Hell
Keem, believe
yeah.
it or not, was actually through Bad Habits. Randomly, I heard Gang Related, the homie Stillman put me on. I'm like, yo, what is this? Like, this sounds amazing. So I'm listening to the energy. It's like ignorant music, but it gets you turn, it gets you hype, you know. Then you hear like other songs like Register, which is arguably like my favorite Keem song. It's nothing special, but just like, it just puts me in that zone. He's like,
Yeah.
don't you touch my register. Don't you tell my beat. I'm like, yes. Yes, this brings my inner demon out. I feel it. Then we get Die for My Bitch, which I definitely think is artistically or like creatively much more interesting because it definitely feels like he definitely polished a little bit more on the whole like mixtape energy and still had that sort of not raw lyricism but like that tongue-in-cheek lyricism that makes you chuckle but also can sometimes make you relate. And the production level was amazing, especially in the song Stats. But that's definitely when he started doing the more sing-songy stuff, which is like, all right, that's cool. Like, shout out to Orange Soda, but low key, like, it's not his best song. I'm sorry, it's not. So going from Die for My Bitch, which is already a little bit more commercial, I guess, for lack of a better term, to this, I'm not disappointed in the music that he made because I kind of expected this route. But I guess I was expecting like a song like 100 bands. Shout out to the
Mm.
leakers if y'all know about that. But listening to Kendrick at least, Kendrick's performance on this album, right from Range Rover to the ad libs, shout out to Master Kendrick the ad libber, and then Family Ties. I gotta say, I am really interested to see if Kendrick is gonna incorporate a more rebellious sound in his next album. And again, this is King season still, I get it, but like just listening to how Kendrick, like again, kind of broke the rules, right? Like from the funny inflections to switching flows to literally just saying top of the morning, top, like off the beat too. I'm like, okay. I'm curious to see if Kendrick was either just playing around and messing around, in the studio with his cousin or family, or if like maybe some of the energy will spill over to his next album. And if it is, honestly, I might want a troll track on the Kendrick album. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, like it kind of makes you think about like, because I mean, if it wasn't Kendrick and if it was just any other rapper, we'd be shitting on this dude.
Oh no, definitely, most definitely.
A
Or yeah,
hundred
Kendrick or
percent.
Kanye.
Yeah. Anyone outside of those two, it's like, what are these garbage bars? But because it's Kendrick, like there's almost like an appeal to it, and I think like it kind of makes me think about like, okay, like, is he gonna do this on his album? His last album, possibly, like ever. I don't know. It'd be actually kind of interesting if he kind of rebelled in that way. But to me, this was kind of calculated. This is like, I think maybe he wanted Keem to shine a little bit and didn't really want to bust out. Like, I think the Family Ties feature was probably like the furthest he was gonna like dive into like his lyrical ability. Um,
To be honest with you, I don't even want to say that Kendrick was quote unquote lyrical in the album.
no.
I'd say that Kendrick snapped. If
Yes.
if you kind of know what I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
I like his performance, but it's not like he did anything that I would say is like Kendrick level worthy or like something that like an average rapper couldn't quote unquote do with the proper punches and punch outs. But
I see someone
you
saw
know
the Rashad Breakfast Club interview. What's the difference between snapping and being lyrical? Which is a good question because I think Kendrick. It's one of the reasons he is the goat of our generation is that he can do both rather effectively. He can have a song like DNA and then also have a song like anything
definitely
off of to Pimp a Butterfly. You
special.
but yeah, like I think just allowing Keem to shine a little bit without having to like feel pressured to really go into lyrics. I think that part was probably a conscious decision. Um, I don't know if we needed another, a written testimony. Um, with someone taking over the whole album. Uh, but yeah, I the good things about the Melodic Blue is, and to me, like something like the song like Issues,
Mm-hmm.
um, which I think is probably one of the most vulnerable moments Keem has ever like shown on a track. And when it kind of talking about his like grandma, reminiscing about like his childhood, um, kind of like the repeating of like run away from home and um, when the night's gone. Like I don't know, like it's like I can actually appreciate a song like that.
Did you feel
Um,
like you're back in high school, Vic?
a little bit. Um, the demons are testing him and everything. I don't know, like songs like that. I was like, okay, going out on a limb, and I think that's some of that like energy that we kind of needed from him. Um, because it's either that or you get a song like Vent, and to me, Vent is like, I mean, to me, that's like a top 10 like banger of the year. Um,
Yes.
to me, when that beat comes in and like um, once Kendrick gets off the mic and Keem comes in and then the full bass like just drops down and you can feel it in your headphones and in your car, like like this is the shit I need. And I hate that it's on track 15 towards like the back, like the second to last track on the album. I hate that it's all the way back there. Um, but yeah, like it, to me, this album is just like it's trying to figure out what it wants to be, and
Mm.
it puts, and unfortunately, that puts like pressure on the listener to decide whether what they like about this album. Um, but yeah, like some of these songs on here, I'll listen to. I'll put it in a playlist. I'll listen to it on car rides or the gym or whatever. And then some of these songs I will never listen to again unless for some reason I want to, just listen to the whole album as a whole project again. Um,
That's a very fair assessment. Actually, you know, talking about ratings, I guess I got to ask you, because, to the listeners, you guys probably like notice, like, I'm a little bit more generous when it comes to scoring than Vic. But I got to ask you though, like, what do ratings mean to you? Like the numerical scores, I mean, right? Like when you say like an album's like a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like, what does that mean to you?
to me, I think it has to. It kind of reminds me of like school, I guess,
Mhm.
like the school grading system. So to me, like, from the perspective of like just a regular ass student, I'm not talking about all you kids who took like 8 AP classes. No, no, no. I'm talking about regular people like me who took all like CP classes and maybe an honors class or some shit like that. You know, so like you could be happy about getting a 60, which would be a six. You'd be like, oh shit, I got a 60. Let's go. I didn't fail. Um, to me, like a good album would be something between like a 5 to a 6.5, 7 around there.
Mhm.
Seven is like approaching like the point where I like, okay, this is gonna be my steady rotation. All right, this is an
Oh,
album I'm downloading. This is an album I'm saving to my streaming service, whatever it is, and I'm keeping it in the steady rotation. 5 through 7 is like I might download the album, but I'll definitely like have songs downloaded off this project. Anything below 5 is like, all right, like this is mid. And for me to say an album is like a 0 through a 2 is like saying like I'm never listening to this again. This shit is objectively like trash. And then 8 through 10 to me is like there's levels to that in terms of like enjoyment, like actually being like substantial music, impact on me. If I can recognize maybe like the artistic endeavors in it, um, if I can kind of also like see maybe to me like long term impact. So like if I'm gonna be listening to this album like 5 or 10 years down the line, to me it has to for something to enter in the 8 to 10 category, it has to me that's like one of the if not one of them, it's the biggest factor. Like, am I still gonna be listening to this album 5, 10 years down the road, you know, because there's still songs and albums that I still listen to from like high school that like I can probably say that are like agreeably like 10 out of 10 songs or 10 out of 10 albums, like
I know you like that goblin, bro. I know you do.
sandwiches, yeah. Um, but like the first thing that comes to mind is like 1999, you know, by Joey Badass. Like to me, like that's an album I can play like and kind of reminisce. I'm not saying it's a 10. I'm saying it's like an 8, you know, in my opinion. I could even be a little bit more forgiving. But even on that album, there's a 10 out of 10 song with Waves. You know, Waves to me is like, oh my god, like how
I'm Joey.
we need that new Joey. But I don't know how far gone he is.
That's prime Joey, man.
Yeah.
He never was able. Like, not to say that his future music is bad, but that was a moment like
It's
he
like,
never.
yeah, a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
But to me, like Waves is like 10 out of 10 song. Like, and just coming from the East Coast, like just that East Coast beat, the bars, the rhyme scheme, the whole like tone of the song, the fact that he was like 16, 17 when he came out. Yeah, the hunger. I mean, there's a lot of different things that fall into that upper echelon of like my rating, I guess, you know. And to me, like Baby Keem, Melodic Blue falls in that 5 to 7 category for me. You know, I can appreciate some songs. I can appreciate the effort to be creative and to go out on these limbs. But I think there's also a lot that he could have maybe worked on a little bit in terms of the production. Um, I understand the 808 influence, and he's kind of come out and said before that 808s is like one of his favorite albums of all time. Um,
Blasphemous.
which is like surprising. I don't know. Like it's just surprising that like that is. But yeah.
Like late registration and Dark Twisted don't exist, but okay.
Exactly. But it's like like why now? Like why now do you feel like you want to break out that influence and so heavily too? Like it's like he's not even really like trying to hide it. Like you might as well have just rapped over a beat like from 808s at this point. Like just the same thing that Drake did. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your breakdown for how you score things. That definitely will make me understand better when you
Yeah.
have the final numerical answer. I guess for me, the way that I at least rate albums, right? It's a little different. So, I mean, I guess I kind of go from like 5 to 10 because if it's like 4 and below, I don't think you'll see me review that album. Or if I would, it's probably like a quick 2 or 3 sentence review.
Mm.
We don't deal with trash. So for me, when I give an album a 7, and high, low, whatever, like in the 7 range, that to me indicates an album that I can definitely listen to from start to finish. But like if I was a sequence guy, I would probably take off some tracks. Not to say that the tracks themselves are actually bad, just that maybe I would just hit the skip button unless I want to listen to the album from top to bottom. While an 8 to me now is an album that I'm able to listen to from start to finish with no issues. That's not to say that I necessarily like every song, but at least as a holistic body of work, kind of like Igor, I can say that this works very well. And then, if I do like a 9 or a 10, I don't know if I really believe in a 10, but like A minus onwards, that's not when you have an album that I can actually like enjoy many tracks and the sequencing and just the whole body of work. Now, if we're going to the 6 range for me, now that's usually when I don't care too much for the album as a whole, but I definitely think there's some great songs, on there. Maybe majority, maybe at least like half to majority of songs that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
5, that's usually not when we're just dealing with an album with some interesting songs that are definitely will be taken away, but it's like usually like 2 to 5 songs, whatever ratio you want to say. It's like, like a handful of songs I actually enjoy, and maybe even like one great song, but, overall it's like not even a bad album, it just didn't really connect with me. And then, 4 and below, that's usually like maybe one good song. I could listen to this passively, or on substances, or just like I won't even touch it. Go figure. But again, That's why you'll like notice me kind of like throwing a lot of sevens, maybe even an eight. Like the Sunshine Rate, I can listen to that album from top to bottom with no complaints. Not to say that, you know, I love every song, but I can listen to it from Dark Side to Happy Birthday to You Part Two.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just interesting how everyone kind of like has their own rating score, and then I feel like some people, I feel like a lot of arguments on Twitter happen that way. It's just like people like getting caught up in their feelings and like thinking an album's 10 out of 10, just because they love that album so much. I'm like, well, you can say it's your favorite, but to call Certified Lover Boy a 10 out of 10, like you're just wrong. Like let's not get carried away here.
No, they're not wrong. They just have bad hearing. It's fine. Don't make fun of the disabled. That's not cool.
But yeah, I think I don't know, for those listening, like if you really put into like take into account like what you're rating an album for, I think you're doing the right thing. You're actually like taking the time to like have some criteria that has to be met for certain numerical scores. But if you're just saying shit is 0 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 just to say it, then just be ready for those clapbacks. Like that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, as you can probably tell, I prefer conversations over like calling an album fire, mid, or trash because, you
Yeah.
know, I find that not to be super descriptive. But, like you said, ultimately we're just talking about our own experiences, but by expressing how we break down what we like, you can at least understand where we come from. You might not agree, right?
Yep.
Shout out to Melon. Still looking at him kind of weird for giving swimming a three, but, like at least I
Wow.
can sort of see where he. No, actually, no, I no, I don't. But
I can't either. And like what did he give Circles again? Like an 8?
I think it's like an eight or a nine, and I definitely remember him crying to that album too.
Yeah. It's not to say that they're the same album.
Oh no, definitely not.
There's a lot of overlap in some sound.
A lot of connective tissue.
But there's like to go from an 8 to a 3 is like, all right, I don't know what's going on here. Uh, so yeah, but I think that's a nice little segue um, into remembering one of our favorite artists. His anniversary death was last week, so rest in peace forever, Mac Miller.
Most dope.
Um,
That's forever.
Easy Mac with the cheesy raps. Um, I don't know, man. He meant so much to me. Like, just a lot of every year since he's passed. I kind of always remember that the day that I found out and what happened that day. For me, which was like, it was a pretty like bleak day. Um, like overcast. It wasn't raining or anything. It was just like super cloudy. Um, and I just remember I was headed to the beach because I was just gonna go for like a walk or a run, and I ended up just listening to like most of like Faces and like swimming at the beach because I don't know, man. Like that shit kind of hurt. Like it felt like an actual friend like passed away. Because I had started listening to Mac in high school because some kid like introduced me to him, like some random like freshman when I was like a sophomore. He's like, "You've never listened to Mac Miller?" I was like, "No, I don't know who that is. I don't listen to rap." Um, and then he showed me Kids, and that was it. Like I was like hooked.
Would
Then
you say that that guy kind of knocked on your door with a knock knock?
knock knock. Yeah, essentially that's what he did. But yeah,
Hey man, see, again, I've never seen Mac Miller live. I don't know the
same.
man, but I remember hearing the news like it was on a Saturday or at least on the weekend, and I was doing college stuff, getting ready to like turn up with the homies and all that stuff. You know what it is. And like I remember like hearing some girls talking about like Mac Miller passed, and I just when I heard that I was like, man, these women don't know what they're talking about. They're probably talking about like the breakup that happened with him and Ariana Grande like a while back, at the time. And then like, more homies started hitting me up. And I just like remember hearing the news and I was like, bro, no way. Like, not like no way like it can be, but it's just like, really? Like I did like I wasn't surprised by the news, but I was taken aback by it. And I just remember like for the rest of that day I was just playing the intro track of Divine Feminine, the one with the piano keys. Let me see if I can remember the name of it. Such like there's just something about Mac Miller's piano playing ability which really spoke to me personally, because even though that obviously his rapping ability was technically very proficient and definitely had like a very ethereal feel, his song Congratulations was one of those like I guess songs that I could play for my mom slash grandma and they would actually like feel the vibe. They're not just like,
Mm-hmm.
turn off this rap music. What is this thing? And I just played that for like over and over. In fact, my mom even called me like that same day, like telling me about the news. And she herself is not like into rap music or into Mac, but she knew the impact that guy's music had for me. And it's been 3 years. I'd say that the album Circles came in a very pivotal time for me. I was able to enjoy the one of the live events in New York City. I remember falling asleep to the first time I heard the album, Lullaby Raps. You know what it is. But then like walking back when it was snowing, just listening to the tape from top to bottom, was able to like resonate with it. And then during the years of quarantine, during the months of quarantine, you know, uh, just listening to Swimming in Circles, like right, like my regrets are just like friends. I could. Well, no, my regrets are just like text I shouldn't have sent.
Mm-hmm.
I got neighbors and more like strangers who could be friends. Like I feel like that's low key was the motto for like quarantine. Arguably still is if you ask me. But I can also say that Mac Miller's music is something that you can live with. And it's very interesting because honestly, like I didn't really get into Mac Miller like in the Easy Mac days or even like that. Honestly, initially when I knew of Mac Miller, I think I heard some of his like earlier rap stuff, which is that party stuff, and like I was in my elitist rap wave at the time. So I'm like, who is this white boy rapping? I don't want this. Give me that real crack rap or whatever, right? But like at the time I was messing with Odd Future and TDE, and I just noticed that like Earl and Tyler, they would work with him, and they seemed to mess with him. Flying Lotus worked with him, who I enjoyed. Same with Thundercat. And then like Schoolboy, Absol, even Kendrick did a track with him. Like, okay, hold up, like
Did a few tracks.
the go-to rappers that I rock with this kid. What am I missing? So then I decided to play at the time, which was his latest commercial album, which is watching movies with the sound off. And hey man,
Watching movies is like that transition point for him in my mind, and it was such an interesting year too.
2013.
For 2013, one of the greatest years of hip hop in recent memory. But yeah, to me, that watching movies was like that was towards the end of my senior year in high school, and it wasn't really a concept album, but it was like the first album I kind of listened to that had some thematical like concepts on there and had this like kind of like this sound to it where you could kind of like see like, okay, like he's trying to achieve something through here. And I don't think I really got it at first, but like I don't know, it was like my first introduction to Action Bronson, my first introduction to Absol. um to me, like I was like, who are these people? I've never really gotten into them, and then they're on Mac's album, and I was like, okay, like there's something here, and I was like very much like a Easy Mac kind of guy. Like to me, I still like Blue Slide Park. I know it gets a lot of hate, but like to me, the album has like very little misses. I don't find any issues with it because like I listened to it at a time where I was like in my formative years, and I couldn't really make impressions off of music that well like I can now. And even like kids, like I still love that mixtape as well, but just kind of like that whole turning point, it was just like very interesting to like have that in my life. and kind of just growing up in that way, as you continue to progress, and the things that he continued to rap about, like you experience, as you became, a young adult into your 20s and everything, you could kind of see like what he was rapping about occurring in your life. Um, you, I don't know.
Yeah, man. Like again, watching movies is what I would like to call like I don't want to use the word impactful because I don't think that the like that specific sound like carried over, but I almost want to call it like one of the pinnacle albums of like that not SoundCloud era, but like bloggers era maybe. Like
Mm,
it's definitely like one of those albums that I feel like rap heads from the 2010s like remember. They might not like varying feelings for sure, but it's one of those albums that I do think everyone has an opinion on. I don't think it just kind of like is forgotten in the midst of whatever else is dropping.
no.
And like you said, like I mean, one could argue that Macadelic was technically like the introduction of the new sound, but I will say that in watching movies, that's definitely when he kind of like honed in on this. I would say more introspective, stoner esque raps that
Mm,
definitely remind me of like those college conversations we would have with the homies on like Saturday nights at like 2, 3 a.m. That like like being a little bit older now, I don't think we're necessarily as deep, but they have a genuine nature to it at heart that you just have to appreciate. Like, you might not think that the homie's spitting the biggest facts, but you can tell that homie's really actually trying to like think. He's not trying to be pretentious or anything. Like these are genuine thoughts that are being put on. When the song with the sample, the song that goes, I am who I am or killing time. Like, like that song whenever I just hear him saying like I'm bored as hell, all I'm here is doing is killing time and hear the gunshot. Like I remember just like thinking about all the time that I like low key wasting my time. Like yo, I could be
mm-hmm.
doing stuff I want to do or like hone on some skills or like whatever. But like instead I'm just either here not doing anything or just doing or watching the same videos over and over again. And, that being said, watching movies with the sound off, I think, is a great introduction to Mac Miller. Now, to me, it's not his best album, only because I feel like after Remember, I kind of outside of the bonus tracks, of course, I kind of feel like it drags on. Like the songs after Remember, like what Aquarium, Euphoria, Someone Like You, put that shit away. But
Really, I always like someone like you.
bro, that's because you're sensitive.
I guess so.
But
But
that
do
being
you
said,
think
though,
you could
like
make the argument, like someone could make an argument that it is his best project? Like not to say like it would win, but do you think people like someone could be like bring in some great points about this album? Because to me, like, there's a lot of quality on this album. A lot of
okay,
quality and features, but like at the same time, he's like very. It's still kind of raw.
here's what I'll say. If we're strictly talking about commercial releases, I definitely will say it's top three, no questions in my book at least. So yeah, with the right person, I would sit down and want to hear what they're gonna say. But if we're including the mixtapes, I think this little this little mixtape called Faces, you gotta beat. Now, of
True.
course, that's also because I like mixtape energy. So, do please keep in mind that Faces is a very long album and definitely like could be not sequenced better, but definitely could have had some tracks removed. But just like you said, the rawness of movies, I just think is on Faces, but like on Max 10, and that is still my personal favorite Mac project. That's like one I probably bump at least like every other week, just because it's such a great collection of tracks. It's a mess, but it's a beautiful mess.
True.
It's like the Pablo before Pablo.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna just ask you then. Like, what's your favorite Mac project then?
All right, so like album wise, Good AM, mixtape, Faces, and between Good AM and Faces, I'll probably put Faces wins it for me. Yeah. How about you?
Wait, why Good AM though? Like,
No, that's fair. That's fair. So to me, Good AM feels like the variety pack of Mac. Because one thing that you gotta appreciate about Mac Miller is that in this, like his what 8 to 10 year run of making music on a commercial level, he's definitely divulged in many different styles, right? He had the commercial party tracks, he had the sad raps, he had the stoner raps, he had the hype raps, he had the melodic raps. He did producing at some point. Shout out to Larry Fisherman and all that type of stuff. And I feel that on Good AM, you get a variety pack of different styles. So you got songs like When in Rome, which is like hype energy. You got songs like Two Matches, which is just like to me like a refined watching the movies. You got songs like ROS, which has that sort of sing-songy stuff that some people really love with Mac Miller, right? Um, you got other tracks like Godspeed, which just brings forth like the introspectiveness towards Mac Miller and his ongoing addiction. You got songs like 100 Grandkids, Loki a Bopper, or like The Weeknd, with Miguel. That song is actually like a really, really good turn up track in my opinion. It's like a low key banger. So I just feel like you get different sides of Mac's sonical pockets on that album, and that's why I personally think it's his best commercial release, or best commercial release because it's varied in sound.
Mm. Yeah, I can agree with a lot of the points. I can rock with that argument. Um,
I mean, don't get it twisted. I know, like some people say, but swimming though, or watching the movies, which I definitely don't think are bad picks. But that's the reason I'm sticking with Good AM for albums at least.
yeah. So for me, it was hard because in my mind, I can recognize, and you can disagree with me or not, but to me, Circles is his best album. Is it my favorite though? It's duking it out. If you had asked me 2 3 years ago, the battle is between watching movies and Good AM, and I
Mm-hmm.
probably would have leaned towards watching movies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to me, swimming like I I listened to swimming like maybe a year after 9 months after it dropped because I just never came around to it, and to be honest, like I kind of fell off of Mac after Divine Feminine. Um, so I revisited the album like way after it dropped, and I was like so like impressed with kind of what was on this project, and not only that, like I was just like, man, I missed out on so much. Like there's so much good quality tracks on here. And to me, I kind of like the whole vibe and the whole kind of tone of this album. To me, like "Come Back to Earth" is a great intro. "Hurt Feelings." It just like goes in and out. Like those, it doesn't stop until like track 9 with "Conversation Part 1," and it's more. When I say stop, it's just more of like a transitional piece where he's actually rapping. Now he kind of gets back into just the raps. Um, and then it kind of ends on like these two great tracks, 2009, and so it goes, where it's just like reminiscent about
Wait,
the
sorry,
past.
wait. What's 2009 about, bro?
I mean,
He doesn't want to cry anymore. He wants to smile now.
yep. It's kind of hard for me to talk about that track. Because there's a lot of things in here that I feel like I experienced. I'd rather have me peace of mind. I mean, like the whole like just the tone of that track too is just like I don't know, man. And we got a lot of these kind of like tracks on Circles, right? A lot of like thinking about the past, like and that emotional depth. And I was just like, okay, I gotta turn this off. I'm about to start crying too much. Um, and then so it goes is like it's like to me his best like outro track on any project. Um, just cause like how it ends, with kind of the synths all coming together at the end and kind of closing out the album in that way. Um, it's almost like kind of like a send off to Mac Miller, because it's his last album that he made while he was that he made and saw kind of like have a full commercial release.
See, that's interesting actually, because yeah, like obviously we can never remove like Max Miller's death from Stephanie Circles and for some swimming. But it's interesting because now that I do think about it, like what I actually liked a lot about So It Goes is almost this sort of like laxy date, like laid back disposition, right? Like it's just like, well, it like do you kind of remember how the intro track goes in circles? How it's like this is what it looks like right before you fall. Like
Uh-huh.
I almost find that like So It Goes and the intro track circles, like they almost are like the yin and yang because it's like they're both expressing like what's happening, but one is just having it in a very like not despondent, but it's a very like not accepting. That's the word like in a very almost like yeah, it
Like
is literally like
melancholic.
melancholic disposition versus one
Yeah.
that still has a melancholic disposition. They both have a melancholic disposition, but one is more almost from like not a place of apathy or a place of like happiness or acceptance, while one is just saying like, well, here we go again.
Yep.
And man, like there's something like again like this. These are not lyrics, but when he's just kind of in that la da 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 da, so it goes. Like
So it
there's
goes, so it goes, so it
there's
goes.
something about that that just brings a very youthful disposition where like again, Max Miller's death was still very unfortunate, and I don't know if I'd say that I was surprised by it just by listening to the context of his music, but it's still one of those things that's very unfortunate. But it almost feels like Mac himself wasn't someone that you would say was like a depressed kid or like un unsatisfied with life. Now, of course, I don't know him personally, and he obviously had his personal struggles and so such. But it seems more like a kid who was just, who got caught up in the wrong games or the wrong substances, rather than one who was actively like dealing with X, Y, and Z. So you could sort of, despite him not always being the best shape, he would still be able to find the best out of it. And you know, yeah, you might be right. Like, So It Goes really might be his best outro track because even though like Once a Day I do think really hits home,
Yeah.
I feel like So It Goes almost has that same emotional weight, but not doesn't feel as like melancholic or dramatic. It almost feels like it can still be serious, but doesn't have to be, I guess, sad or depressing. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Once a Day is a bit too short lived, in my opinion. I mean, I think it ends that album pretty well on its
Oh
own.
no, definitely.
But yes,
Those
something
serve to
about
me like the actual ending.
yeah.
Sorry, sir. You were saying?
I mean, to me, So It Goes is just like the context of when that song dropped, and like even though I wasn't around or I didn't listen to the album when it actually dropped, that's my fault. Um, I don't know. There's also this YouTube video that like, you know, I know we're kind of like a YouTube channel, but like man, YouTube, you gotta relax a little bit. There was remember that music video that like the animated music video that like had that song, So It Goes on it. I showed it to you. It was like the people on the moon, like the little mini characters.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and it was
Yes, I
like
do.
a time loop thing, and like he ended up being like one of the mini like I don't know like I'm pretty sure like the music video had nothing to do with like the actual like lyrics of the song, but for some reason like it's still connected, and I don't know, YouTube got like or not even YouTube, but I guess YouTube could like stick up for themselves a little bit, but like that music video got removed because of the copyright and everything. So I missed that music video. I'm trying to find it on like Vimeo or like Reddit or something. It's just I missed that video. That shit was. You could watch that music video without the music, and you could kind of get into it in that way. But either way,
Wait, are you suggesting to watch a movie without sound?
I see
All
what
right,
you
bro.
did
So
there.
wait, now that we're reminiscing about Mac Miller, right? Again, Good Aim is my personal favorite album. Though, between Faces and Circles, those are definitely the most impactful albums of
Oh
my
yeah,
personal, right?
yeah,
Circles is to me, Circles honestly might be like top five best favorite albums of just all
mm.
time. Not rap, but just like albums in terms of the impact that it had. And again,
Yeah,
it came because of how I listened to it, and when it came during the quarantine time and all that stuff. I still listen, and it also I also gotta be honest again, as someone who likes rap music, and just hearing my thoughts on Baby Keem's recent album. Like I said, the first time I listened to this album, I was like, where are the raps? Like, all right, you're singing, but like, give me some bars, right? Like until Hands showed up, he wasn't really rapping, and that was like the only song he really did. But then, being able to sort of like accept what Mac was doing and able to listen to his like singing performance, there's like a sort of raw energy that yeah, Mac Miller's by no means a singer or vocalist by like Mariah Carey standards, but for what he did on this offering and his album, it's like wow, he really did his thing there. And one would like have to like ask himself like if he let's say did Divine Feminine like part two, right? Like if things worked out, like how would that sound? Because I think both you and I would agree that despite Divine Feminine not being our personal favorite albums, I can see how some people do. There definitely was some great song ideas on there. Dang, bro.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. And like to me, like the second half of Cinderella, phenomenal. And then what God, Sexy Nasty, the one with Kendrick Lamar, it's a great song too. Like Mac Miller's just such an interesting artist, and I'm really happy that he never was afraid to like try different things despite the box that he found himself in that would have been probably more comfortable, right? He could have kept doing the pop rap stuff. I'm sure that would have been lucrative for him. I'm sure that he could have also maybe stayed like an underground like rapper guy, like or an underground king. But like the fact that he kept doing his own thing was just really dope and interesting. And with that randomly segue, I gotta ask, give me your top 5 Mac tracks at this moment. And when I say this moment,
What?
I know it can change. I know it can change, but I'm saying like right now.
I mean, I need time for that, bro.
No, like
all right, off the top.
Yeah, off the top, bro. Off the
okay. All right, let's see. All right, well, let's just go to swimming. Small Worlds.
Ooh. The world is so small.
Go to Star Room.
Oh, okay.
Complicated.
Fair.
I'm just trying to grab one for me. Are we including Faces as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm gonna just finish the last 2 spots with tracks off of Faces. To me, New Faces and grand finale. And also just going back to my point about me saying Circles is his best project, that's in terms of commercial albums. Faces to me is his best anything.
Body music or body work.
Yes. Because I just scrolled through that track list. I was like, oh my god, like which one do I even pick? Like even picking 2 was hard as fuck. Like what? Like.
Hey man, Faces is beautiful. That's all I gotta say. But so off the top, right? I gotta give it to Hands. If
you love that song, bro.
Bro, when's the last
I get it, but it just does
little,
not click with me.
When's the last time you took a little time for yourself? Come on, bro. That's real. That's real.
Yeah.
Exactly. Alright, so Hands. 2 matches off of Good AM. I found that song to be phenomenal. Like, these guys are, like I've seen a lot of shit. What do you do when you're off your job? Do nothing. Why don't you dream a little? All that stuff. Again, great stoner raps. Absolutely amazing thing on there. Off of Faces, I'm gonna throw in Therapy. That is, I think, arguably like my favorite Mac Miller song. It's just like on the shit.
Quality.
I just love it.
Quality.
Like yeah, like that's one of those like tracks that whenever I'm like I need to get hyped, Therapy will do it for me. So yeah, damn right. See, I want to say Oblivion, but I feel like that's a little cliche. Feel me? Like I didn't know. Yeah, no, it's not. No. You know what it is? I'll do Perfect. Okay, Perfecto's number 4.
Damn.
And then Hurt Feelings for number 5.
Okay.
So yeah, that's Hands, Perfecto, Hurt Feelings, 2 matches, and Therapy as my current top five Mac Miller
Yeah,
songs.
I'm definitely gonna change my top five. Like, but like to me, like those are just standout tracks to me. You know, he has a lot of standout tracks. Which he
No
kind of
man,
like,
Mac Miller's a great discography.
you know, and to kind of pinpoint top five for me, like it's hard. And I think that just says a lot about how much we love him. Um,
Most dope. That's forever. RP to the GOAT. I hope that, his people's family, fellow artists and such are able to, celebrate his life and, let's hope that we can all learn a lesson from, his lifestyle. Like well, from his life, from his experiences and that we can move a little differently, feel me?
mm. Yeah, hopefully Circles remains the last chapter in Mac's discography. I think it's
That's
it's
all
just
you. That's all you. That's not a steady rotation. That's a big
what
post.
you want another album.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying that if they drop like more singles, I'm cool with that.
I can live with that, but to me, Circles is too perfect. Like,
Circles is. I've said it so many times, right? Circles is like the gentle finale or the quiet conclusion towards a tragic but not an unexpected death. And as a fan, this is like a farewell letter from him. It feels so personal. Like I have friends who literally still to this day cannot listen to Circles because they're literally getting tears when they hear the intro track.
well, yeah, it's definitely not a grand finale. More so just a quiet farewell. But yeah, I could use another single or two in my life.
You should check out the song with Ty Dolla $ign and Mac Miller. It came out this year.
Oh, true. Um, but yeah, man, like Mac Miller, rest in peace. We'll keep bumping him. To me, he's a generational talent. Just miss him. Regret that I never saw him in concert. Maybe I'll see him when I'm up there, or down there, wherever.
Hey man, Legend, Legend has its faces gonna be on streaming services. That will be nice. Until then, we'll just keep bumping the favorite songs. Shout out to his many mixtapes. In fact, I even like his Thank You mixtape. If for the Easy Mac fans. And I'll even say this: I listened to Kids like over in 2020, like when it came on streaming services. And I gotta say, for his like, commercial mixtape debut, it had a lot of heart. Like when I listened to it, like I could honestly say like this sounds like someone who likes making music rather than someone who's trying to make good music. If you know what I mean. Like you could feel the soul in it, and like Kool-Aid and Pizza, phenomenal track. There's definitely like a couple of songs in there that actually are like in my personal rotation, which is funny because like I said, I'm not into Easy Mac, but like Kids is honestly, I can definitely see how you became a fan, of Mac Miller by listening to Kids. I can definitely see.
Yeah, man, it was a quality introductory project, but anyway. Any outside of the Baby Keem project, anything you've been listening to? Anything new? Project singles?
Hey man, no, I'm bumping Isaiah Rashad every day. I'm the reason Isaiah Rashad got 100 million streams. Feel me?
Crazy.
I'm excited for that new Kendrick supposedly. I'm still bumping Donda. Honestly,
True.
Honestly, like like I'm really surprised that for how long the album is that like I can just listen to it like straight through. Like I don't need like again that's like another 8 for me. Like I don't have to skip the buttons.
True.
No. Sorry, that's a 7. I can listen to it from start to finish, but there are definitely some songs that would maybe reshuffle. But hey man, like Junior Watanabe Part 2.
On my re?
Yo, Ty Dolla $ign took that beat.
Junior on my woo 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 woo. Yeah, no, I love that song. Y'all already know I love that song.
How about you, man? Come on, like, let's listen to some new music.
Come on,
I've yet to check out Lil Simi, but who else you got?
Little Sibs. It was a quality project. A lot of people were like, they were dick riding the shit out of that album. I was like, all right, relax. Like y'all are this Twitter hive mind. Like it's a great album, but like They were like this is a 10 album. They're like Fantano's gonna give it like a 10. I was like it, just enjoy the music, man. Like it's a great project. Um, but no, that's not what I listened to last week. Big Persona with Maxo Cream, Tyler the Creator, great single, phenomenal single. Um,
We need Tyler to take Cal's position and make a collective album called We the Best.
True.
Yes, I want the beef. I want all the smoke.
We need like a just a you know what, it would be funny if because DJ Khaled is like this executive producer and he curates artists to rap on certain beats. If
Mm-hmm.
Tyler did that, if he just executive produced an album and had just a bunch of rappers rapping over his production, like imagine like let's say like Big Persona is the like leading single off of this project, and then like he has like Freddie Gibbs, and then maybe he brings back Earl on the beat, Vince Staples,
Yo,
um,
we need a Tyler and Earl collab. No, I mean
an-
sorry, Tyler and Vince collab. But
yeah,
we also need Earl.
another another young boy collab. Like I don't know, you could run away with that project, man. If you just let if these people would just get past the fact that Tyler's a little weird. He's not like this hard dude. He's a bit sus, but like dude can produce, and y'all can get a track just like Big Persona, you know.
Tyler is. Do not sleep on Tyler as a producer. He scored a film.
But yeah, man. And the new AZ project, which a SR short may or may not be coming out sometime soon. Kind of giving a review of that project. The AZ is a Brooklyn rapper. Been around since the '90s. I don't know if you're um, aware of him. Queso. Um,
I've heard of him. I think he did like a song with one of the Griselda boys. I want to say in 2019, 2020.
Possibly. But was he was kind of like heavily involved with Nas during the '90s and stuff. He was on like Life's a Bitch. Um, and he's a formidable rapper too. But he dropped a project last week that I just like randomly played, and I was like, oh shit! Like this is quality like New York rap. Um,
You mean that storytelling beat with the Kim song?
exactly, 100. It's. I'm not even kidding you. It is that. But kind of like with a modern sound, I guess, which like is like cool because like he hasn't really like he hasn't dropped a project I believe since like 2009.
Oh
And,
wow.
and and this is a sequel project to I think it was his first album back like in '95, which is Doe or Die, and then he released Doe or Die 2 last Friday. But like Rick Ross is featured on there, Lil Wayne, Conway, even T Pain. Idris Elba's like narrating like the intro track. I was like, what the? How the fuck did you get Idris Elba on this shit? Um, it's just so random. I don't even know. Like how it's like if Mike G like released an album like next week and had like Michael B. Jordan doing like a shout out at the beginning. I was just like, what? How the hell did Mike G get Michael B. Jordan? But yeah, man, quality music. 2021 is not disappointing. I'll say that much.
2021 picking up from 2020, bro.
Exactly.
Kendrick Lamar, you're the last person. We got Drake. We got
Travis
J.
Scott
Cole.
too.
Whatever. We got Isaiah Rashad, bro. The only person we need are Kendrick Lamar and Cy Baba.
Satya, where you at?
Oh, yeah, bro.
I need that
We
new.
overseas
I need that
having
new.
relations.
But yeah, Kendrick, Satya, Travis. I need that Birds Part Two.
Bro, lay off the pipe.
Birds in the trap.
As the Twitter homies would say, crack is a dangerous drug, my friend.
The birds in the bed. They come out clean. But yeah, anyway. Alright. Best bit steady rotation. Melodic Blue. Let us know what you felt, how you felt about the album. We kind of like it. We kind of don't. We can appreciate the artistic creativity and him kind of going out on limb, but yeah, you know, Baby Keem, excited for the next project whenever that drops.
Hey man, Kendrick just blessed us with some more brother verses out here. I'm waiting for those flows. You know, shout out to Keem. Like you said, we're definitely keeping an eye on him, see if his stock rises. You know, shout out to Mac Miller, most dope, that's forever. You know, hip hop's gonna do what hip hop's gonna do. So I'm sure we're gonna find some more interesting news that will pop up random in the feed. And you know, you'll hear from us next week. Until then, stay safe, stay sane, hydrate yourself, and please wear a mask when you're in public in a building.
No, this is America. This is America, brother.
Okay, there, brother.
Only I'll wear a mask only on occasion, brother. All right, stereo rotation. We out of here.
We out, baby. Peace.